Hello, welcome back. Today we'll start with a new philosopher of language, that's Gottlob Frege. In the initial lectures, we have seen that one of the major concerns of analytic philosophy is to inquire into the meaning of meaning. What does it mean by telling meaning? So here, as I have told earlier, we are dealing with reference theories of meaning. That's to say that these set of philosophers like Moore, Frege, Russell and early Wittgenstein are concerned with meaning of a specific nature. For them, meaning is what a word or sentence or a proposition refers to. So it's closely related to the correspondence theory of truth which we have studied in Moore. Now here, as far as Frege is concerned, he is a German philosopher, he is a mathematician as well as logician. And he taught in the University of Jena, and his period was from 1848 to 1925, the second half of 19th century and the beginning of 20th century. That was his period. And he made much influence on the philosophies of Russell as well as Wittgenstein. He is also considered to be one of the founders of modern logic. He has contributed much to modern logic or symbolic logic, which we have studied earlier, and made major contribution to the foundations of mathematics. One of his significant contribution to the foundations of mathematics is his book, The Foundations of Arithmetics. And in the Foundations of Arithmetics, he attempted to reduce mathematics to logic or arithmetic to logic. He wanted to establish that arithmetic is founded on logic. The effort was not successful. Later on, in the beginning of 20th century, Russell and Whitehead took up the task again, and that ended up in a book called Principia Mathematica, the 3-volume book. There also the mission was not totally successful, and that story I'll tell later on when we deal with Russell. Now Frege, throughout his career, he worked in the area between mathematics and philosophy. Now mathematics, we know, it gives the picture of reality. Mathematics is somewhere connected with reality. To quote Galileo, mathematics is the language in which God has written the universe. Mathematics can be considered as a language. It cannot be considered as science in the sense of empirical science. It can be considered as a language, the language in which the God has written universe. So universe lies in the framework of mathematics. Now, the philosophy, one aspect of philosophy at least is concerned with the nature of reality, or again the nature of universe. There is an area that overlaps mathematics and philosophy. For example, we have studied symbolic logic. In that you have studied truth table. Now truth table is used to validate the argument. Now if an argument is valid as per truth table, then it must be valid in the world also. The question is, how is it possible? How something which you draw in a page and work out becomes a reality in the world? What connects the problem that you work out in a paper with the reality which is lying outside? These are some questions related with the philosophy of mathematics, or these are the questions related with the overlapping area between mathematics and philosophy. And Frege has made serious contribution or significant contribution towards that area. And his contributions, along with Moore and Russell, in the development of analytic philosophy are significant. He has contributed much to analytic philosophy. Or he is one of the pioneers of analytic philosophy. And we have got two topics of study as far as Frege is concerned. One is sense and reference, and the other is concepts and objects. Both these things are articles published by Frege. Sense and reference, or alternatively called sense and nominatum. In German, it's Sid et Bedeutung. That's a paper published by Frege on the relation between a sign and its reference. And you can see that sense and nominatum, it's published in the year 1892 in German, and later on it was translated to English. And philosophers earlier to Frege, like J.S. Mill, held that proper name has no meaning over and above the object to which it refers. That's to say that proper names simply refer to an object and has no meaning other than this reference. For Mill and other philosophers before Frege, proper name, like if you take Frege's own example, like morning star or evening star, it's a name. It works like tags. Tag. You might have seen the tag attached to clothes when you purchase, showing the price. Like that, proper names functions as tags, just attached to an object. So it doesn't have any meaning other than that object. So a proper name directly refers to an object, and that's why it's told that held that proper names has no meaning over and above the object to which it refers. A name, proper name, directly refers to that object. There is nothing external, there is nothing over and above that referring as far as the proper name is concerned. On the other hand, Frege considered proper name as sign. And a sign can be anything like a name, word, or a combination of words, or an expression which can function as name, okay, which may be used to designate an object, which can refer to an object. So proper name is a sign. A sign is not a thing. A sign shows something. That's what Frege wanted to establish. So here the problem is that philosophers before Frege considered proper name as some tags or directly referring to an object. But Frege claims that proper name is a sign which is not directly referring to that object but indirectly. In order to establish this indirect reference of sign to that object, a sign is connected with an object indirectly as far as Frege is concerned. In order to explain that, he examines the question of how the object which is designated by a sign is related to the meaning which is expressed by sign. So he is bringing another notion in between. There is a sign, there is an object. He is trying to explain how the sign is connected to this object through the meaning. So that's what he wanted to explain. How the sign is connected to the object through meaning. So that's what is explained here. The object which is designated by a sign is related to the meaning which is expressed by the sign. He is concerned with the relation between sense or mode of representation of a sign and its meaning. How a sign represents, how a sign presents itself. And by presenting itself, it's creating some meaning, and through that meaning, it refers to that object. So he is concerned about the explanation of that. So what he does actually, he analyzes the question of identity, what he calls identity puzzle. Frege examined the relation between sense and reference of a sign by analyzing the relation of identity. And this is known as identity puzzle. And is trying to explore the notion of identity to find that identity doesn't mean mere equivalence. It has got something more than that. And he is trying to explain that, which we are going to see now. In the identity puzzle, he says that for two things, say A and B, if they are the signs, A is a sign and B is a sign, and if A and B are signs that refers to objects, then what is the meaning of A equal to B or A is identical to B? if A refers to an object, B refers to an object. We do not know whether they are same or not. And we claim that A is identical to B. What does it mean? According to Frege, there are two possibilities. When we say A is identical to B, according to Frege, there are two possibilities. There are two ways in which they can be called identical. We can say that either identity is the relation between signs. I'll explain it later on. Or else we can say that it's the relation between objects they refer to. Either identity can be the relation between signs. A and B are related. Or it can be relation between objects, the objects which they refer to. Now, in analyzing this identity relation, what it does is that he claims that if it is the relation between names, then since names are arbitrary, the truth of identity statements is a matter of linguistic convention. They do not inform anything more than giving another name for the first one. What he explains is that if you take identity or telling that A is identical to B, the identity relation as the relation between signs, then you are simply telling that instead of A, you can use B. They are one and the same. The signs are one and the same. Say this is pen. This is a mere matter of convention that I call it pen. There is nothing essentially connecting the word pen with the object pen. I may call it cigarette. And if everybody calls it cigarette, it becomes cigarettes, and cigarette may become pen. That's what is meant by telling names are arbitrary. They are chosen in random, arbitrary. So there is no essential relation between a name and the object to which the name refers. Now, or a sign and the object to which that sign refers. Now, if it's the relation between signs A and B are identical, then this A is arbitrary, B is arbitrary. You are simply telling that instead of A, you can use B. Instead of B, you can use A. It's a matter of linguistic convention. You can use anything. So they do not inform you anything other than giving another name. Instead of calling it A, you can call it B. That's all. It doesn't have any value, any informative value. It's not informing you anything more than giving another name for the first one. That's the case if you take identity as the relation between signs. Now, if it's the relation between objects, if you say that A refers to one object and B refers to another object. So, if A means the meaning of A, if you say that A is identical to B, then it means that A refers to that object and B also refers to that object. So, A means that object and B means again that object. So, A is identical to B means that object is identical to that object. I will explain once more. Now, if you say that identity is the relation between objects, then if I say A is identical to B, A means that object, B means that object. A is identical to B means that object is identical to that object. Means A is identical to A because that object is A. That's what is explained here. If it's the relation between objects, then A is identical to A cannot be different from A is identical to B, since they both refer to one and the same object. So the issue is getting complicated here. What he wanted to establish is that the relation of identity is neither the relation between signs nor it is the relation between objects. And he is taking the example of morning star and evening star. Morning star is the star, actually it's not star, it's the planet Venus, which rises in the eastern horizon before sunrise and which can be seen in the western horizon after sunset. So it's the one and the same planet. The morning star is Venus and the evening star also is Venus. It's the one and the same planet which is seen at different direction during different times. So when you claim that the morning star is identical to evening star, or simply writing like this, the morning star is equal to evening star, there are again two possibilities. This is the identity, this can be the identity between signs, or this can be the identity between objects. Either the relation between two signs, morning star and evening star, or it's the relation between their objects, Venus. Now again analyzing, if A is the case, if the first one is the case, if they are the relation between signs, then it simply informs us that the term morning star can be used in place of the term evening star. So if it's the relation between signs, that morning star is identical to evening star, it simply says that instead of morning star you can use evening star. It doesn't make any difference. That's all. You are informed that instead of morning star you can use evening star. And if B is the case, thus if the second one is the case, if it's the relation between Venus, if B is the case, it says nothing other than the morning star is identical to evening star. It's simply telling that the morning star, that is Venus, is identical to the evening star, that's Venus. Means Venus is identical to Venus. That becomes problematic. If it's the identity between two signs, then it simply informs that instead of morning star you can use evening star. And if it's the identity between objects, then the morning star is Venus, the evening star is Venus. So morning star is identical to evening star means Venus is identical to Venus. That's true of any object. The pen is identical with this pen. It's not giving you any new information. So what Frege wanted to establish is that the cognitive value is lost. When you say that the morning star is identical with evening star, you are getting some knowledge. There is a cognitive value for that proposition. There is a cognitive value for that statement. You are getting a new knowledge. That knowledge is lost in such analysis. In both case A and B, what is lost is the cognitive value of identity statement. In case of A, it's simply informing that you can use this sign, morning star, instead of evening star. The morning star is identical to evening star inform us something more than mere identity of words or identity of objects. It's giving you much more information than a mere identity of sign or a mere identity of object. It's actually telling you the planet which you see in the eastern horizon during morning, early morning, is the same as the planet which you are seeing in the western horizon after sunset. So it's giving that much of information. All this information or all these cognitive values are lost in making the identity statements, the identity between signs or the identity between objects. In a statement, if we substitute the term with another having the same reference, then truth value of the statement is preserved but not the cognitive value. What Frege wanted to establish is that in a statement, you can replace another statement having the same reference. In that case, the truth value will remain same because that statement refers to one object and you are replacing it by another statement that also will refer to that object. So that object either exists or does not exist in certain way or in certain other way. So whether they are represented by this word, this sign or this sign, the object is the same. So the truth value will be preserved. But the cognitive value will not be preserved. What we wanted to establish is that one sign and the other sign differs in its cognitive value. The meaning of it differs. That will be established later on. And that's what he claims. The cognitive value is lost in considering the identity statements as the identity between signs or the identity between objects. It seems that identity is neither a relation between objects nor a relation between signs. This is what he wanted to establish. When we say A is identical to B, it is neither the relation between A and B nor it is the relation between what A and B refers to. There is some third principle which actually links the sign with its reference or object. And this factor we will examine in the next lecture. Now what you need to understand is that the problem that Frege handles here is the relation between a sign and its objects. How a sign refers to its object, or how a sign takes up its meaning. Its meaning is the object. So in order to explore this problem, in order to explore the relation between a sign and its object, what he does is that he brings out the puzzle called identity puzzle. And he examines what the notion of identity means, whether identity is the relation between signs or is it the relation between the object to which the sign refers. He finds that it's neither the relation between signs nor it's the relation between the object. Then the solution to this identity puzzle we'll see in the next class. Till then, bye. Thank you.